3, 2, 1.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it. It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
I have seen a number of players putt from the back part of the screen, and the results have not been good. Johnny, that's better than most.
How about him?
That is better than most. Better than most.
Welcome to 2 hours of sports and nothing but sports.
There are no better fans than you guys. Thank you all for loving the game of baseball. Thank you for your lifelong support of the Oakland A's. And I ask you for one more time to start the greatest cheer in baseball. Let's go, Oakland!
Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
This guy.
Shohei Ohtani, the greatest day in baseball history.
And now the Rad Network presents the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Oh yes, the tradition, unlike any other, or whatever it is that Nance says, is underway. The Augusta, the Masters at the Augusta National Golf Club. We'll update you on a few things, and we'll keep you updated. Look, I love to play golf. I love to watch golf. I understand if you're a huge golf fan, but other than that, people really do like over nosh on the Thursday of the it's day one. We don't really learn anything, know anything, but it is a tradition. It's like I heard Jim Gray, longtime broadcaster, talking yesterday. Now more than ever, the fact that you can go to Augusta, you can go to the Masters, and time stands still is kind of a cool thing for a lot of us, to where you can forget everything that's going on. But Steve, I don't even have the Masters on. I'm watching the A's and Yankees play right now.
I think the Masters is on one of those pay-per-view channels or one of those streaming services, so I don't have it.
We actually do have an update on that as it relates to the NFL. And no, it's not. By the way, for those of you wondering, the Masters is on somewhere, ESPN right now, I think. But I will double check it. So we'll talk about that. The NBA, NHL playoffs are getting more in picture, but this relates to some breaking news in a couple of the major sports. Still the story of Major League Baseball. We're more than 2 weeks in. The ABS challenge system, automated balls and strikes. There have been 585 challenges this season. They're still figuring out the strategy, like we talked about early on, and they've already made some adjustments. Basically, who and when can make calls. In more every game that I watch, and it's becoming obvious, they're holding back everybody until like the 7th inning. They don't want that hypothetical that Steve and I talked about at the beginning of the year of, well, everybody was screaming and yelling at the World Baseball Classic, but if they wouldn't have had any more challenges left, it wouldn't have mattered that ball was so far out of the strike zone. So they're holding on, which, fine, I get the strategy, but I do see a lot of calls that aren't being challenged in the 4th inning. And I go, well, that was a really obvious one. I do understand the strategy, Steve, but I'm wondering, and this is going to adjust throughout the season, I'm wondering if they're going to go back at some point and go, okay, we've got to empower. Right now, it's catchers are number one. They get to challenge what they want. Pitchers are like way down on the list. In fact, the Diamondbacks are one of the first teams that came out and said, no, pitchers cannot ever challenge, which makes sense because pitchers think every ball is a strike. And then certain hitters, I think, have been given the green light, and maybe they need to expand that because, look, turning an inning around in the 4th could mean just as much as in the 8th.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm still for that. Have the penalty of if you get the challenge wrong, you get a ball or a strike against you. I think they should be able to do it throughout the game. I think it takes the pressure off the umpires because it leads it to the batter and the catcher to immediately appeal. We've heard that from some of the umpires that have come out because they feel they're being embarrassed and would prefer just to go with an entire ABS system for all pitches. I think it should be used on all pitches with that ability to challenge, not with a limit of once you lose two challenges, you're done. But I still think the umpire should call it and then use the ABS as a backup.
But for now, because all of that stuff's like down the road when they figure this out for the most part, and where this is really heading, and I still think there's a cut the middleman out of the argument that we'll get to in a moment. For now, I don't love the strategy of holding everybody back until the seventh inning.
I think I think we're far enough into this to know who knows the strike zone, who doesn't know the strike zone. I understand the strategy, but I'll go to the Kyle Schwarber. And I don't know if you saw that video clip. He struck out, strike three, took his elbow pads off thing. He knew it was ball four, and he like laid all of his stuff down, and he's like going to first base. He challenged it immediately, knew he was correct, and the pitch wasn't even close. So I don't think teams should wait to the seventh, eighth, ninth innings, which is why I'm not a fan of the only two. I think if it's obvious, then you should be able to do it. And as you get that, look, I'm always wrong. Look, coach, tell me just don't challenge until the seventh inning. But Rob, if you know your strike zone and you're 4-0, 5-0, hey, have at it in the first inning if you think that that is right until you start getting a bad percentage. Let the players challenge.
And I haven't heard or seen anyone come out and officially say that, but I believe that's already happening. I gotta believe certain players have been told you got free, certain batters in particular, you've got free range. I do think that the umps and this whole thing of getting embarrassed, which that seems to be waning a little bit because I think a lot of the current umps are taking that role of, hey, pressure's off me.
Mhm.
I don't know that they're going to love the Schwarber method of I'm showing you up by already taking all my stuff off, knowing this is going to get overturned. We'll see how that plays out. One of the things that they're writing about is that there has been a side effect that a lot of people didn't predict: silence from the dugout. AJ Hinch, manager of the Tigers, says the benches are a lot quieter. You don't hear the razzing with players and umpires because why? In fact, I didn't realize this. There has not been a single player ejected from a game this year. Not one player. And only 5 managers. Because there's no, as AJ Hinch says, there's no reason to scream at the umpire when you simply tap your helmet and challenge. I hadn't even thought that would be an effect of this whole thing.
Yes, more proof on why we need to use the technology that's available to us. It takes that part out. Nobody's going to get upset. I'm surprised we have 5 managers that have been ejected. A couple of those, yes, were I think legit, but I think a couple of them were just they got rung to get rung for that team motivation type of thing. But there's no reason now to argue a ball or strike ever. In fact, if you do argue it or you say I'm okay with throw them out. Look, challenge it right then and there. You have every right. If you're gonna sit there and heckle me from the dugout on something that you chose not to challenge, that's on you, not the umpire.
The challenge system has had some critical efforts already in some games. Atlanta second baseman Ozzy Albies turned a strikeout into a leadoff walk, which turned into an 8-run inning last week. Diamondbacks DH Adrian Del Castillo turned an inning-ending strikeout Tuesday into a 2-run game-tying single against the New York Mets. Albies, of course, since it worked out for him, says that system, the ABS system, has changed the whole game. The Twins have had the most challenges, 34 challenges in their first 10 games. They've been successful 20 times. That's 58.8% of the time that they've been successful. And in fact, of the 585 challenges through Monday's game, more than half are being overturned. 54% are being overturned. What happened to this whole the umpires are right 92.5% of the time thing? More than half are getting overturned.
Yes, this is the close calls. The 92% takes all calls. So, that ball that bounces in front of the plate, yeah, that's pretty obvious. The ball that goes over the batter's head, think of Soler and what led to the fight. Yes, I can get that call right. But it makes you kind of wonder if, and this is just the ones that they are challenging. And as you watch these games, you will see batters in the 8th and 9th inning that are close. Well, we still got a challenge left. No reason to to bury it. Let's take it. So I think the percentage is actually a little bit higher because you are watching players. And I watched one in the game last night that they challenged just because, well, it was close. Let's take a shot. It's ninth inning. I think 2 outs. I can't take it home with me. So if you backed those challenges out, I think it's even higher, which then brings that question, why aren't we using it all the time? Because we're seeing outcomes of games change. We've seen it. You were mentioning there's the Red Sox one, I think on opening day, or they're pretty early. Maybe it was game 3 that instead of a strike 3 stayed in. It led to them scoring, I think, 3 runs or 2 runs in the inning, which led to them winning. It's changing outcomes of games. I love it. I find I'm far more interested in watching games this year than I have been in the past several years. Use this, grow with this, and let's continue to improve the game by adding the technology even more.
Well, and this is where we get back to the I say cut out the middleman. I don't I appreciate your effort to improve the system. I say let's just do what we're supposed to do. And more people are already writing. We're only 2 weeks into this season. And with somewhere around 54 to 58, who knows percentage being overturned, let's just go to robo umps. And more people are writing that this is just a Trojan horse for full robo umps. Okay. Look, nobody wants to, well, nobody that's sane wants to see people lose their jobs. Nobody's wishing for that. Nobody is ultimately going, good, I hope they all get fired. You got to be a real sociopath for that. But there is also the argument of getting it right and doing it. And so everybody knows robo umps are coming soon. Why wait? We've got it. It's the same. Look, the instant replay was slowly implemented, right, in baseball. It began in way back in '08. I think that's back when we were still like not necessarily like human error, human error, and it was like, oh wait, let's get it right. And they could, and it was in '08. It was only on home run calls, right? And then now it's like every play, still with the challenge system and all that. Why don't we just make sure that calls are right with two, so that every rather than this two challenge crap and punishment, every call's right. Just use robo umps. And you can't challenge the robo ump because he's the robo ump. Even though some people say they don't have it right. Who's going to challenge the robo ump? There's no challenge. What, are you going to have a human now say, oh, yeah, he's not? No, just go to it. And this, a lot of people are like, oh my God, robo umps, robo umps. I'm like, what? And like you said, you still need humans. Mm-hmm. We don't quite have, I mean, I don't know how much longer, but for now, we don't quite have the technology and or the finances to completely eliminate humans from making calls at the bases and calls at the plate. Yes, you can still challenge that, like that terrible call at first base that we were talking about, which was a replay call, not an ABS call, where the guy's foot clearly was on the middle of the bag, and somehow is it Buckner, the ump that's having a horrible season so far, CB? He just somehow missed the call. Well, that'll still exist for now. And probably for the foreseeable future. So I don't know how many jobs are going to be lost. And back to your point and what we've been talking about, I don't know why the umps aren't in favor of it. It takes all the pressure off of you. So let's cut out this middleman crap. And I like articles like this. If we stay at 50, 60, 70%, whatever, of calls getting overturned, isn't that going to be, and we've got, I don't know what the status is of the contract with Major League Baseball umpires. We know that we've got a strike coming up with the players or a lockout rather, in 2027. Let's just leapfrog and just go to robo umps. You can write these articles all you want. Is it a Trojan horse for robo umps? I hope not. Well, I do. I hope it is.
And I agree with that. And I don't see that big elimination of the umpires. You take football, you're still going to have to see if somebody's holding and doing those things. For all of the sports, you still need the person on the court or on the field in order to then drop the flag. Hey, look, they told me this. I dropped the flag. I say what it is. So you still need them, and put some up in the booth so that those instant replays could go away a lot faster because they're watching it in real time. They see it. So I don't really see the need to get rid of any of them. It's just repurpose them in order to make the game better. Use the technology where we're at. We should not need an umpire to determine if a ball's fair or foul, if it's a home run or not, these various things, but we do need them for the pass interferences, the holding, the slides at second base. And Was it runner interference? Was it batter interference? The robo umps aren't going to be able to determine those type of calls, so they're still needed.
And that's where I start to wonder, because you mentioned football, and that's what we segue to next. How much of this is ego, and how much of this natural human behavior that we have, where we all get freaked out and paranoid about technology? And what people have failed to recognize over and over and again is that as technology grows, yes, people in certain professions lose their jobs or have to train to do other jobs, while other people come along and get jobs that are needed to do. When the buggy whips went out of business, all those guys had to learn how to make cars, and they did. As magazines went out of business and newspapers are almost dead, they all had to learn how to write for digital platforms. And you can just go to the wallstreetjournal.com right now. And now we're all freaked out about AI, and a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, there's a way that we can all interact with one another. AI might be, and this is one of the things AI is really good at, amazing at being able to preemptively diagnose various medical conditions. They're making huge strides in medicine. A doctor, a human doctor, still gets to say, okay, here's what AI says, here's what we can or can't do. And maybe someday, because they're already tinkering with AI, robots can do some surgery. They are doing that. It's just how invasive are we going to get with all that? But, they don't have trembling hands because they had too many drinks the other night. This is this idea. So that's the difference between ego and paranoia, which takes us back to the NFL, which has been very aggressive with the refs. And there's this question out there that the NFL has basically said, look, we're going to give you a 6.5% raise every year. You're already making 385 grand a year. And the refs have said no. And the NFL said they're alarmed by that. And then the NFL goes out in their owners' meetings last month, and they say, hey, we're going to add in this thing where we're going to use New York a lot more, where New York's going to be able to intervene. And if the ref on the field misses it, like a roughing penalty, and doesn't kick the guy out of the game, New York can come in and go, you need to eject that guy. That was egregious. And again, getting it right. And that hasn't been talked about a lot publicly, and I'm wondering more and more if that is what the sticky wicket is with the NFL refs. And we know the next step has happened now. It is not news that the NFL plans to begin training replacement officials next month. We reported on that, and they're going to pay them. It is news that the NFL yesterday officially informed all 32 teams that will begin training replacement officials next month in preseason activities. The league sent a memo explaining that the training will commence with the goal of starting team visits as of June 1st, assuming there's no collective bargaining agreement with the refs, which expires on May 31st. The NFL will seek feedback then from the teams as to the performance of the replacements throughout the offseason as the NFL finalizes its roster of officials for training camp and preseason. And part of it is the PR element, right? They want to pressure the refs. Do a deal before we start spending money on these replacements who we've guaranteed 120 grand to, depending on what official you're talking about based on length of service, where they're coming from in college and such. And the owners are sending, some of the owners are going to negotiate with the refs here. And as you and I talked about when we first heard they were going to start paying guaranteed money to these replacement refs, is this more about the NFL being able to say, we're starting the season with our replacement refs? The feedback we got from these NFL teams was they're a little green, they're missing some. You know what? We're gonna bring New York a lot more into this. We're gonna let New York have a lot more say. Well, that's still humans watching videos. We're gonna use the robots a little bit to figure out, because we do have the technology, as you always point out, Steve. There's a chip in the goddamn ball. We're gonna be able to figure out if he did or didn't get past the goal line or the 1 yard line or the first down line. Once it's in, it's in. At that point, the NFL refs are screwed. They won't be able to circle back in July or August and say, well, we'll sign, but you got to take that out. Then it'll be like, this is the new normal. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I think is going on here, because the NFL is being so aggressive, and I like it.
And I think it's what they should do. When you read out that 6.5% annual pay raise and what they're making, I think it's crazy that all of these referees, umpires did not sign on the dotted line right then and there. And again, I don't know what else is in that contract. But if I'm the NFL, and this is where we're at, our owners meeting we just had, I'm calling in our technology guys in front of all the, okay, tell me what technology is out there, what we can use, and I want to use all of it to the fullest of its ability. You still have to have the humans who oversee it and help assist with those calls. But as you said, once it goes in, it's never coming out. And I would have pushed the envelope. I would have pushed, look, I want it all. This is the opportunity. And if it was successful, and I find it hard to believe it would not be successful in the NFL, you will watch all of the other leagues follow with that lead by using more and more technology and deal with it, umpires, deal with it, referees. The fans ultimately just want the calls right. That's all we've ever asked. However, you get there, we don't care. And I think I would have used it as a big signal for future to all the referees. This was it. This was your offer. I'm not putting the toothpaste back in the tube because I am now going to all of the technology and we're going to continue to advance that technology because now that is our investment in the league.
And as you and I continue to discuss the cost of being a fan, whether it's buying apparel, buying all the streaming services, going to the games, one of the elements that can't be missed in all of this is sports betting. And when you are, and more 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 Americans are doing it every single year, it's going up exponentially. And when you're investing your own money more than ever, you want the call to be right. And you want to know it's right because you're in the same position as these players in the dugout that are being quiet. What are you going to do? Yell at the machine? The machine got it right. We've all said the machine knows what it's doing. By the way, I did some quick math while you were talking there. 385 grand a year and a 6.5% increase every year. They would write that's 25% the first year. They would immediately go to their second season, 410 grand a year for a job that's 9 months a year at most. And then you got to do 6.5% of 4. By the third year of their contract, the refs would be making $500,000 a year. There's something else going on here, and I genuinely believe it's the level to which they're going to have control on the field. And I think if I'm right, the refs are buggy whip manufacturers. They don't understand. They're magazine publishers. They don't understand. They're radio people. They don't get it. We're moving on, kids. You have a place, but you're going to have to get in line and take your paltry $500,000 salary for this job.
And part of what I've heard, again, I haven't read any of this. I've just articles, etc. The referees, umpires are pushing back on they want their dead time, as in there's no contact with us or whatever. So we get 3 months or 4 months of I have nothing to do with the league. They're resisting additional training if you're not meeting the expectations, going out and doing additional training in order to perform your job to a better level. They're also resisting the current based on seniority on who gets to go. The NFL is asking for the referees, umpires who do the best job, get the calls the most right, which is what we want as a fans. We want the best in there. I don't want the 30-year veteran because he's got 30 years and he isn't any good. And these are all things that they are resisting that we all have to deal with in our everyday job. If I don't do my job right, I get training every year, regardless of how great I do my job. And it should be based on your ability and to do the job right, not based on seniority. And currently it's on seniority.
It is so weird and out of character traditionally for the multi-billion-dollar corporation, the NFL, to be the ones that seem to be making the most sense and asking for the most reasonable things. Because usually it's like little guy gets screwed by the big guy. And I am missing that element. I have to admit. And if that element is out there, I will retract. I will absolutely report it. I'm missing that. But I want to stay with the NFL for another little guy, big guy thing. I knew this was coming. We all knew it was coming. It gets way into the weeds, so I want to keep it just simple for now. But it does go to the heart of the cost of being a fan. And one of the things, Steve, that you've been complaining about for the last few years, particularly with how we watch the NFL and all the streaming services that you need, the sticky wicket always becomes what is the right solution. And for now, what they're looking at is, as of this morning, the Department of Justice has opened an investigation into whether or not the NFL has engaged in what is being called anti-competitive tactics that harm consumers, all because they still have their antitrust exemption. And this whole investigation questions whether or not the NFL still deserves it. What does that mean in English? Well, for one thing, it means that this could really screw things up for the NFL. Boo hoo, nobody cares. You're a $15 billion industry. I don't know. How much does it screw it up? Because how far do they go with this? The TV rights could be sold by each team. Some teams would make a lot, others wouldn't. The salary cap system could implode if you got rid of antitrust. And this is always the problem when we start looking at so you have a reasonable problem, which is it affordable for the consumers to enjoy the product? It is a monopoly. It's the National Football League. That's the only product. Are they presenting options to the consumer that are reasonable? This is all a legitimate conversation to have. Too often, we go way too far with our solution and we come up with something that ruins the very product that we're wanting more of just at a more affordable price. I'm not saying that's where this is headed. It's day one. But that is certainly the objective view from the outside looking in of, okay. And what the NFL needs to do, by the way, in their investigation is they actually need to present some sort of, here's what we're looking at long-term solution that's going to be, and then everybody can get in the same room. However these things work. And this is like a couple years these investigations take, but it's out there now. It's official. They're looking at it.
And that's good to see. And I can't get too far into this, but I do know there are different price charges for businesses,
Right.
say,
Certain
for
entities.
instance.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, just be fair. Charge the same price to everyone. I would like to see it easy to find out. I'm not a fan of the NBA. Oh, I got it on Peacock today. I got it on ESPN here. I got it on, all of these different things. If I could just go to one source and find them, bundle it somehow, it would make it a lot easier versus trying to figure out what day of the week it is and where to go. But the pricing is not fair. It has not been fair for a long time in the NFL, but they're king of the mountain. And until somebody can knock them down, they're, as with business. And we talk about player salaries. No owner is paying a salary they can't afford to pay. Well, as long as these businesses keep paying these prices to these leagues for the business packages for the sports, charge what you want.
I do think that there's hope for a reasonable solution that gets done because we are really talking about, without getting too, socioeconomic, political, and all that. There is an element of America that's what we call an oligarchy, where the rich of the rich are making a lot of the decisions for the rest of us. It can't be denied. Jeff Bezos, the Washington Post, and we know what Elon Musk's influence is on it's how the system works. This is the ultimate case. High profile, rich politicians who are now saying, hey, high profile billionaire owners of the NFL, we got a problem. And this is where the stereotype comes in. They all get in the room with the bourbon and the cigar smoke and they all figure out, okay, how can we make the politicians look good, the Department of Justice look good? How can we keep as much money as possible? Because, hey, do we really need a fourth yacht? There's a reason to believe this does get worked out. Here we have the public pressure on the NFL. A lot of people, by the way, are saying that this is nothing more because Rupert Murdoch, who owns the Wall Street Journal and is a part of the Fox Broadcasting Company, he somehow had this story 3 days ago. He broke it. And some people are saying this is nothing more than trying to get a bargain or a better deal for Fox to broadcast the NFL, which I wouldn't put anything past anyone. I do think there's a reason to believe this is a wake-up call to everybody to go, okay, we've got to figure out something else. And is it the Steve Mickelson idea of we're going to offer a bundle package for all NFL games across all services, and it's this much, which is a lot less than buying all the services. That's out there. Oh, but those of you like Rob who want Apple TV for other reasons, or you want Paramount for other reasons, well, you can still do that, but you don't get the bundle. I mean, you can bundle it, but it doesn't make any sense, etc. I don't see this turning into Ma Bell and the elimination of the NFL. That is not going to happen.
No, the NFL is still going to make their money. It's just, hopefully it makes it a little fair and price sensitive, to the consumers, to the businesses, et cetera, that are out there.
Now, one more thing, and this is the stuff that's why I try to keep it as simple as possible, but this is the stuff that affects the products that we get, that affects, that if you're, and most sports media doesn't talk about it, and that's why we all wake up and go, how did this happen? But it's important to see what's going on. The NCAA has a panel that they have just put into place to discuss potential changes to eligibility rules that would incorporate age into the process. This is an old argument. NBA went through it. Do you have to go? Can you come right out of high school? How much college do you have to have? Wait, how old can you be, etc. This proposal that the NCAA is looking at would give athletes 5 years of eligibility with the clock starting at the earliest of two dates, either when they turn 19 or when they graduate high school. So a guy like me, I graduated at 17. Boom, my clock starts. Or 19. What's the earliest? I would get to 17. There would be limited exceptions, but they wouldn't involve injuries. And this is important to the story. The exceptions would not involve injuries, which has been a common reason for players to ask for extra eligibility. But it's led to guys with the NIL, name, image, likeness, that are playing NCAA football because they're making money. And they would never make anything in the NFL because they probably wouldn't even get to the NFL. Kedrick Bingley Jones is a name that's out there. He's a veteran defensive lineman who transferred to Alabama for a 7th year, redshirt senior from North Carolina, Mississippi State. He has faced multiple injury-plagued seasons. Too bad with this. He missed significant time in 23 and 24. He's 6'4", 320. There's no one in the NFL that says he's a high-round prospect, and most say he's not a prospect at all. But if he plays for Alabama, he gets a few. I don't know what he's getting in the NIL, but a few $100,000 is a lot more than what he's going to get if he never gets onto an NFL team. There are several players who have secured a 7th year. Some athletes, like tight end Cam McCormick, received 9th year waivers due to severe consecutive injury seasons. One of the arguments is these guys now, because of the NIL, can make money playing football for 9 years because they'd never make it in the NFL. And is that fair? Is that right? Is that okay? And this proposal says 5 years, that's all you're getting.
I think they have to do something. We watched 2 NBA players go back to college basketball this past season. One player actually played on the Bulls this year and went back to college. And I want to say it was on Baylor and played on Baylor the second half of the season. We had another guy who played in the G League that went. It's got to stop. The whole NCAA with everything, the transfer portals, how you can have people transferring while the college football playoffs are still going on. I will never understand that. They have to get control of college athletics one way or another. And I'm not against a player making money. That I'm not against. But let's say you're Johnny Manziel, and I have no idea how long, but look, he's never going to play in the NFL again, but he's good enough to be a quarterback in college football. If let's say he only played 2 years, Johnny, why don't you go back, play 2 more years in college football, make $1 million a year? You get to go back to play what you like. Who knows? You might astonish everyone and play great. Maybe you get another shot at the NFL. But these marginal quarterbacks, the Carson Beck, and he used up his because I think he played about 7 years in college football. But those guys who might come out, you look at Trey Lance. I don't think Trey Lance played 4 years or 5 years of college football. Well, if he's still never getting a starting job in the NFL, why not Trey Lance go back to college football, make $4 million a year, and see if he can lead somebody, win a Heisman, or do something like that, and watch these pro athletes go back to college, which is not the way this was ever designed. But with 2 players going back from the NBA into college basketball, others that aren't going to make it at that next level who have eligibility left. Why wouldn't they attempt to prolong their career? And I think it's going to become more and more of a problem.
And then you get into the argument of these guys that are like go to the argument too as well. These guys that are playing for their 7th or their 9th year that are never going to get to the NFL and they're taking a roster spot from somebody. There is a limit, but because they're 6'4", 320 and they played the college game for 7 years, they're going to be kept and somebody else doesn't. Because that's why the argument is that they need to cap it at something. And again, 5 years is their working number. That's it. After 5 and no exemptions or no exceptions rather for injury, you're done. You can't do this anymore.
And
That seems reasonable.
I think it's very reasonable, and they have to do something. The thing nobody's talking about is these NIL deals and the transfer portals have killed high school athletes from moving on into college sports at a high level. You now got to come in to a mid-American or one of the smaller conferences, prove you can play, because all of those players who are playing college basketball in those mid-level conferences, if they're really good, they enter the transfer portal, they go on. And I'm coaching in Kentucky basketball. Well, I would rather have this kid that I've watched play a year or two in college basketball, know what their strengths are, know what their weaknesses are, and bring them into my program than bring a kid out of high school. Yes, he's talented, but who knows how he's going to react? Is he going to get homesick? Does he have, any other things? You'll never see the homework and everything you get in college like you did in high school. So is he going to be able to make the grades? It's a lot less riskier when you take a kid who's already in college to the portal, which is what we see everywhere. And the college athlete anymore has gotten pushed to the back burner.
The Masters is going on. Major League Baseball is going on beyond just the ABS, and NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. All that
It's
and
the
more.
Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
It's that time of the year again, spring cleaning time. Much like New Year's resolutions, spring cleaning is something we swear we're going to get to and then we never follow through on. And one of the reasons is how overwhelming it can be. You start to clean up, and then pretty soon you realize you have way more trash than you can just throw into your bins and put at the curb for the garbage company. You have enough junk that you need to make a half dozen trips to the dump, and then you go, oh, we don't even own a truck. Nor do you have the time or the energy, so you just say screw it again and no spring cleaning. So this year, call my man Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong on purpose. It makes him stand out. Plus, it makes you think of chocolate milk. QUIK Dumpsters.com. Quick Dumpsters, QUIK Dumpsters.com is their website. Corey and his team came to my house recently, hauled away dozens of boxes filled with just stone-cold trash, unusable and worthless old vacuum cleaners, appliances that couldn't be fixed, and just random crap from around the house. QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is QUIK. We're in and out of my place in less than 30 minutes. They checked in with me multiple times to make sure they were taking the right stuff. They were friendly, kind, professional, and finished off the job by making the house cleaner than when they started. And this may be the best part. Quotes are free, and you don't even have to have them over to your house where you get the little sales pitch and all that. Just send them some pics or videos. You get your price, schedule your day and time, and you watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Basically, you have no excuses other than your own laziness. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. That's QUIK Dumpsters. QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, QUIK Dumpsters.com. If you go to AdvantageSteam.com, which you should, at the top of the page, you'll see the Services tab. Click on it, and you'll see that Advantage Steam does carpet and upholstery cleaning. They protect fabric and fiber. They clean and seal tile and grout. They polish natural stone. They clean rugs, especially those really nice ones from foreign countries. And they treat urine damage. And not just urine, but vomit and feces. Ew. Yuck. I assume if you need that service, you either have children or pets or you live in a frat house. But either way, they'll take care of you. Of course, Advantage Steam also applies MicroSeal. And if you don't know what that is by now, then You just suck. Joel is the local small business owner of AdvantageSteam.com. He's a lifelong maggot, and he's treated, cleaned, protected, polished, and micro-sealed the homes of countless members of the RAD team over the years, various RAD studios, and of course Williams Manor. And I hate admitting this, but he is a genuinely really great, nice guy. In fact, if you tell him I said that, you'll get 0% off all services. So go to AdvantageSteam.com. Click on Make an Appointment, enter in your available dates and any comments, like maybe type, Rob said you're a really great, nice guy. Please give me 0% off. And they will get you all set up. Just go to AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com.
At the Rob and Steve Sports Show, we only support responsible sports betting and gambling. With that said, according to Rob's favorite Chinese restaurant, your lucky numbers today are 12, 14, 17, 20, 28, and 36. Good luck. Email us your results at ras@theradnetwork.com.
The Masters Golf Tournament is underway. It's on right now. If you want to watch early coverage, you got to have Amazon Prime. Then it's on ESPN, and then it'll be on CBS all throughout the weekend. Day one, years of watching golf is almost meaningless. You can glean a few things, like what you really look for. There's an old expression: you don't win a golf tournament on the first day, but you can lose one. So you look for somebody who's just blowing up, who's just like, oh my God, they're complete. And there's nobody yet that you wouldn't have expected. It's not like any of us expected a Vijay Singh to be competitive. All right, he's 7 over and he's done for the day. And so that hasn't happened yet. What has happened? Sam Burns is in the clubhouse at 5 under. He's the lead right now. Other names you might recognize: Jason Day's 3 under after 16. Patrick Reed, that a lot of people's talking about Patrick Reed. He's 3 under after 16. Rory is 3 under, trying to defend his title. He'd be the first since Tiger to do that. He's 3 under after 13. Tommy Fleetwood's 2 under after 6. Fred Couples, this guy, what is he, 118 years old? Everybody loves Freddie. He shows up to the Masters every year, and he competes. Sometimes he competes all the way to Sunday, and then he can't quite finish the deal. What a story that would be. Well, it was only a few years ago, Steve, that Freddie was in it for like the first 9 on Sunday, and then he just fell apart. And we don't have Phil, we don't have Tiger. How great would it be if Freddie could just stick around for the weekend and actually be competitive?
It is, and I was glancing through the leaderboard, and that was one of the things I saw. I'm like, Freddie Couples, he's 2 under through 8 holes. Just keep him in it. It's so great. I'd love to see him on TV on Sunday. Updating a couple of things of what you went over. Bryson DeChambeau was probably the public's favorite to win this tournament. He's +3, I think it is now, after 15. And the other thing that jumped at me, not a surprise, but Scotty Scheffler, 3 under through 3 holes. It's like, here we go again. There was questions on whether or not he was ready to play. And, I know it's a little easier, and Thursday is always the easiest day for cup placements. When you hit Sunday, then it's like, okay, those cup placements become a lot more difficult. But those were the couple things that jumped at me.
Agreed, and I'll go in reverse order. In terms of the key with Scheffler is he's 3 under after 3. The fact that Patrick Reed is 3 under after 16 seems like a non-story when it's Scotty Scheffler at 3 under after 3. Yeah, he's got 14, 15 holes of golf left. We'll see. But that is the story: is that Scheffler takes an extra week off, has a kid, shows up. He's finished like I'm doing this from memory. His last 3 tournaments that he did play, he finished like 22nd, 18th, and 20th, which for the number 1 player in the world. But he's also not the next Tiger Woods, which we keep doing to everybody that's at all successful. But for him to go out and right away and get that momentum, 3 under after 3, we'll see where Scheffler lands at the end of the day. The Bryson DeChambeau, actually, he's the only one. Victor Hovland, you could argue, was another guy that a lot of not necessarily bettors, but people in the golf world were saying he's got a real shot. He's 3 over as well after 13. But Bryson, 3 over after 15, and we talked about him yesterday. And he is playing with a 5-iron that he fabricated himself on a 3D printer. We mentioned this yesterday, and Steve brought it up, and it is true that the PGA of America, the United States Golf Association, actually technically for this, had to approve DeChambeau's clubs before it was used in the golf tournament. I have no idea if he's even hit today, but that's where he was getting all this story. He's already had the the nickname, the mad scientist, because he's the guy that he gets, because he hits the ball 400 yards if he wants, and he gets up at the tee and he's hitting the ball over trees to a blind spot. Nobody would ever make this shot. He does it, and he's 10 feet off the green, things like that. And he literally used a physics based approach to create this 5 iron. And actually, on the morning show today on the radnetwork.com, we were talking about 3D printers because they're like so over my head and how they work. In a nutshell, it's like a little smaller than a bar fridge that you'd see at a frat house or whatever, and you have to put certain materials into it, and then you and a lot of people, I'm sure, Bryson, that you use AI to kind of tell it what you want it to make, and then it makes it, and then you can fasten it to the shaft and all, and you can do all this in your home or in his workout lab or whatever. Whether it's the wave of the future or not might have to do with how many times he's hit this 5 iron to be 3 over after 15. But yes, it's legal, and he's playing with it, and that'll be if he misses a cut, that'll be a big story on tomorrow afternoon.
And I wish I'd listened in the morning part. Sorry, I was working because I don't get the 3D printers at all. To me, I would think everything's made with plastic. Well, you can't make a golf club out of plastic like you
And it's
use for
not
a printer,
right.
then it would snap. So I don't understand how they build all of these things out of a printer. It's beyond my thought. But I don't understand how boats stay afloat on a lake, and I don't understand how we have airplanes. So I can't fly. I know it's speed and the wind, but I don't understand how jets fly either.
Yeah, no, and I said the same thing this morning because I've never under the 3D printer thing became a story within the news 5, 6, 7 years ago because people were printing 3D guns. And I'm like, how is this possible? You can just print a gun, and they were plastic so that they could get through security and all of that. So I said the same thing. I said, well, golf clubs can't be plastic, and Jeff, our tech guy, was explaining, well, they don't have to be. It depends on what you're feeding into and that's when I started to glaze over. The funny thing is, we have a 3D printer down at our Midtown studio. So I have to go down to our Midtown studio and watch Jeff use it. I don't know that's going to make me any more intelligent, but maybe Bryson has started a new thing. And the other thing they're talking about too is, and the big three this morning that are left: Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, Gary Player. They did the inaugural shots. A couple things. If you didn't see it, I'm sure you'll see it somewhere. In some cases, it'll be for mean reasons. It shouldn't be. I mean, Jack Nicklaus is 86. Hit a terrible duck hook as his inaugural shot to start Augusta. And of course, he's going to get asked about it. My understanding from what I read was he was asked in a very respectful way, and he was honest. I mean, Jack's become a pretty honest guy. And he said carpal tunnel. He's got a terrible case of carpal tunnel. He's barely played golf. And he's 86. Did I mention that? So let that go. But the other thing that they talked about is they are all, and this is becoming a thing, a lot more golfers are starting to say, and we were talking yesterday about technology, golfing, bowling, other things. We got to scale back these balls. We've got to go back to not letting the balls fly as far. We've got to adjust their distance. And of course, the old school players who never even dreamed of hitting the ball 350 yards are like, this has got to get under control. I don't know if it will. I don't know if in golf chicks dig the long balls. I mean, I know the guys I play with love it. I can't hit the ball more than 250 with a 250 is like, okay, I can hit a 270 with a tailwind, or I used to be able to, but that's with the wind downhill. Guys I play with, they're big, they're muscular. They can hit it 300 yards. They're not going to want the ball to go back.
Yeah, I get that. I think, and for the recreational golfer, let it fly. I don't have any objection to that. My problem is we have all these historical courses and everything out there. And now the par fives are par fours, the par fours are par threes. I mean, when you hear guys driving a par four now, I don't care. When you go back to the persimmon wood driver and go with that, look, that was never even a consideration. I'd like to see golf go back to golf with the strategy and don't get me wrong, golf to me is the most strategic game there is on the planet because everything comes into factor, and that's why I think we love it so much. I mean, all you got to do is hit one shot, one great shot, and you're on a golf, and you're like hooked. That's it. I'm a golfer for life. But you can't have these pros playing par fives as par fours. Hey, I hit my driver and I hit a 7-iron into the green. I mean, come on. That's not the way the game was made. And they're making altercations to the golf courses now to try to make it. And again, now you're just flat out changing, the courses and everything and all the history of golf to accommodate it. Knock the golf balls back, knock the golf clubs, whatever you need to do, but make the pros play at a advanced level of what they used to play, but not at this current level.
Which is the perfect lead into the other story we were talking earlier this morning earlier on this show, which was this morning where we are. We're on the West Coast, about how time stands still at Augusta, and it's like nothing has changed, and it's a little escape. One of the big things is their food, and it's still $3. No, it's $1.50 for a pimento cheese sandwich, whatever it is, things like that. And they're very traditional. Remember that if you're an announcer, Gary McCord learned this the hard way. You have to refer. It's not the rough. It's the first cut. They are not spectators. They are patrons, and things like that. And they have a rule that a lot of us would be best to follow every now and then in our own lives against phones. Augusta National does not allow anyone to use their phones, including the media. Oh, you're there covering the Masters? Well, go somewhere else if you want to call in or text in or anything like that. It includes laptops, tablets, two-way pagers, and it is enforced to, quote, maintain a traditional atmosphere, end quote. No distractions, no excuses. And violating the rule can lead to immediate expulsion and loss of tickets. And that is what happened to, of all people, 13-time PGA Tour winner and 1989 Open Championship winner Mark Calcavecchia was kicked out of the Masters for violating the tournament's no phone policy. He's 65. He wasn't participating. He's there as an honorary invitee, but he's still Mark Calcavecchia. People of a certain age know him. He's a winner. He's a Masters winner. I'm sorry, he's a major winner. And he was caught on his phone and removed from the Masters by security. And the only thing he had to say afterwards on the record was, quote, "I've got nothing negative to say about Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters," end quote. Well handled by all.
Yes, well handled by all. He knew it, he broke it, and I'm glad to see that they enforced it. And back to the equipment, an example would be suddenly if Major League Baseball allowed aluminum bats and everything that you see with the bats now from the batters. I mean, look at how it would change the game. And I think that's the comparison is golf has allowed the batters to use the aluminum bat and the balls just fly.
We have an update from yesterday as well, where because it's in the courts now and it's been growing, and we try to always be completely transparent where we stand, and Steve has admitted he's not necessarily unbiased on this topic of the battle between sports books and prediction markets, and it's becoming more and more of a story. And now the head of the leading prediction market that's in the news, Kalshi, has explained the differences in betting in the traditional sense and trading on prediction contracts. And this goes to the heart of, Steve, you were saying that, Kalshi could run sports books out of business. You have assertions about, well, wait, who's backing the money? Where's the money coming from? And all this other. Okay, so Kalshi, the CEO is a guy named Tarek Mansour, who argued yesterday that sports books are designed for customers to lose. Quote, when a customer wins on a traditional sports book, they block that customer because those winnings are coming from the business model. The sportsbook will give them promos and figure out how to bring them back, end quote. He goes on to point out that sportsbooks make money from the surcharge built in to the cost of the bet relative to the payout, and then you got the equal action on both. This is the VIG. You get into the VIG. For those of us that are not in that world, we've all heard about the vigorish, the VIG. But, he says, they eventually, sportsbooks, cut off the consistent winners and persuade the losers to keep going, whereas he says on the prediction market, no one's turned away. If you weren't with us yesterday, this you can predict anything. Politics, money, sports. That's what's in the news in terms of a couple court hearings. If you watch the news, see headlines. This is the whole, hey, we're going to invade Iran tomorrow, and people are betting on it. And sure enough, they invaded Iran, insider trading, all that. Now he says on the prediction markets, no one's turned away because the company. This is what you were wondering yesterday, Steve. The CEO is answering you. The company's not backing up the bets with their own assets. The money changes hands between the winners and losers, with the Kalshis of the world getting their cut through facilitating the transaction. Basically, sports books are the house. Prediction markets make the users the house. Where's he wrong?
Well, go to the Kalshi ad, their app, and you will sit and see that it's the same parlays, it's the same pricing, it's the same hookups. I find it hard to believe that 100%, and you make a bet and it goes through just like you do on a sportsbook bet. I find it hard to believe that every bet that's ever made on that app suddenly has a person betting the exact opposite side of it. And why is it at minus 108? I mean, why don't you charge me a $20 monthly fee and make it even money? If that's really what you're claiming to be the case, and you hit the different sportsbooks, yes, sportsbooks are a business. Kalshi is a business. Those who are very good at it do at places get cut back. That's a fact. But the bigger you are, the less likely that's going to happen. So, there are the very big sports books out there who, and we see in the papers and on the news, $1 million bets get placed. Well, if you're a big enough company, you don't have to limit those players. The players that get limited really are at your smaller sportsbook. I'll tell you, I work at a smaller sportsbook. I can't take the bets that you see at that. Kalshi and these prediction markets are at the top. I mean, they're going to move more than the FanDuel and the DraftKings. FanDuel and DraftKings really should not be cutting back any of their players. But then you get into those who have insider information. And if you're going to tell me that Kalshi is going to take all that money on who's going to the color of the Gatorade from the people who are filling the Gatorade containers, I find it hard to believe that they are going to do that. And I think at a certain point, as you noted on Would We Go to War or whatever it was, if you're going to allow the Department of Defense to sit back and place all these thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of wagers, I think they are going to say it. So I don't buy his, we will take every bet from anyone at any time for any amount. And oh, by the way, we also have somebody who's going to bet the exact opposite side at the exact same time. I think he's feeding a political line that this is what you want to hear. I don't think there's a whole lot of reality to that.
And my problem too is that the insider thing, because the anonymity that you're allowed to make these bets, whether it's on sports or geopolitics or whatever, I don't see where this, and also the fact that you can bet on anything. There's no safeguards that are in there. This is what, again, I was alluding to it yesterday. Sorry to be repetitive if you were here. This is what Saturday Night Live was making fun of in their cold open on Saturday night, where Charles Barkley made a bet on himself on a prediction market that he would say some word he would never usually say, Bumblebee, and then he said it, and he wins $200,000 because he was able to make the bet. In theory, this is the bit. He made the bet. He had a buddy of his bet against it, but the buddy of his only, bet less so that they could split the winnings. And it doesn't, I think I used the phrase yesterday, it seems much more like the wild, wild west in terms of betting, whatever Kalshi's involved, because you did bring up, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't believe, I know you don't want to necessarily call him a liar, you don't believe that Kalshi doesn't have more skin in the game than what he's leading on here, do you?
I believe Kalshi has more skin in the game than what they're saying.
Because he's saying no, we don't. We're facilitating. That's it. There's more. There's something more going on there. Is the way I've seen it from all sides, political, sports, everything else.
And if you have a complaint, something didn't go right, who do you go to? There's no gaming control boards. There's no regulate. There is zero regulation, at least when you talk the Wild Wild West. And this is where I said I think it's worse. The Wild Wild West used to have like U.S. Marshals and They might have a territory of 1,000 miles they got to cover, but at least there was some lawmen somewhere, some judges somewhere. There are no lawmen, there are no judges, there is no one regulating what these prediction markets can do. And if they get their way, there never will be. There will never be any regulating this in any way. So those point shaving schemes that have come up that have been turned in by sports books, who's going to point it out? Who's going to say anything? If we want to turn a blind eye to the things that go on, the shady things behind the scenes, hey, get sports books and gaming control boards out of this and just let it be unregulated, and it will be worse than the Wild Wild West.
And in your example too, it starts to work the opposite way, like using the Venezuela example, which was a big one in the news, and the Iran example, which was a big one in the news. The more that gets out there, the more people hear that. And then you said, well, what's the Pentagon going to do? Just keep making these bets because they know what they're doing. Well, what about now that it's out there? The reverse effect. Somebody who has no knowledge, puts up a prediction that the Strait of Hormuz is going to open tomorrow, and people at the Pentagon are like, no, it's not. And so they're in there. They know that's not going to happen, even though, and who knows who made the initial bet, but it doesn't matter because they're going, well, we know that. Or they say, well, we won't let that happen. I mean, this can get really just so involved and convoluted, and that can happen in sports. You see the bet, you go, well, I just won't let that happen. I'm not going to do that, or they won't do that, and I'm going to make a bet that won't happen.
And your example is why I don't believe that every single bet for every dollar gets matched up, because the Department of Defense said, look, we know it's not going to happen. Let's go put 5 million if you take all the employees down on, no, it's not going to happen. Well, where are you going to find the 5 million to come in on the yes, it will happen? It's not there because nobody on the other side has that inside information to offset it. I don't buy it. I think they're saying what you want to hear. I'm not buying what they're selling.
This all came up because of a Court of Appeals ruling. It's going to get to the Supreme Court, and that's when we'll know a lot more about where this is headed. We've got hour 2 of the Rob and Steve Show after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you go to AdvantageSteam.com, which you should, at the top of the page, you'll see the Services tab. Click on it, and you'll see that Advantage Steam does carpet and upholstery cleaning. They protect fabric and fiber. They clean and seal tile and grout. They polish natural stone. They clean rugs, especially those really nice ones from foreign countries. And they treat urine damage. And not just urine, but vomit and feces. No. Yuck. I assume if you need that service, you either have children or pets or you live in a frat house. But either way, they'll take care of you. Of course, Advantage Steam also applies MicroSeal. And if you don't know what that is by now, then you just suck. Joel is the local small business owner of AdvantageSteam.com. He's a lifelong maggot, and he's treated, cleaned, protected, polished, and micro-sealed the homes of countless members of the RAD team over the years, various RAD studios, and of course, Williams Manor. And I hate admitting this, but he is a genuinely really great, nice guy. In fact, if you tell him I said that, you'll get 0% off all services. So go to AdvantageSteam.com. Click on Make an Appointment, enter in your available dates and any comments, like maybe type, Rob said you're a really great, nice guy. Please give me 0% off. And they will get you all set up. Just go to AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com.
Hello, the Rob and Steve Sports Show is many minutes away, right here on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from quickdumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K dumpsters.com. That's quickdumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or you do like I did, you call Corey at quickdumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story's incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to quickdumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com.
This is Sports Talk, how it should be. Rob and Steve do it right. They actually talk sports. Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Quick Masters update. It's the Green Jacket Tournament for those of you that aren't big golf fans or sports fans. Well, if you're not a big sports fan, you're not listening. The story really on day one is always, okay, who's imploding to the point they may or may not be able to come back. Bryson DeChambeau is now up to 4 over after 16. Rory is now tied for the lead. So Sam Burns is in the clubhouse. He finished at 5 under. Rory is now 5 under. There's a name that everybody knows and is watching. Jason Day is done at 3 under. Patrick Reed is on the 18th. He's 3 under. Scotty Scheffler's 3 under. Now he was 3 under after 3. He's 3 under after 5. So we'll keep an eye on the Masters. I did mention I'm not even watching the Masters as much of a golf fan as I am. It's day one. Turns out there's only like half a dozen games in Major League Baseball today. And most of them are during the day because most teams, like the A's, my team, even though they're in New York and they've just got to play the Mets tomorrow, they want to play an early game so they can get settled in a different hotel or whatever they're doing. And so the A's are on, and that's what I've been watching. They are, and Steve, you texted me at a time when I had already made a note, mention this when we come back. We were joking the other day. It was Paul Skeens was pitching, I think. And he had a no-hitter through 4. And I almost texted you, and I thought, we don't do this anymore. 4 innings. It's that whole how long do you let a guy go thing now. The A's starter, Jeffrey Springs, is he's at a no-hitter through 7 innings, and he's thrown 73 pitches. So he's lined up if he continues to keep his pitch count down, because that's always the thing these days. Pull these guys down to 100 pitches. But he's got to go. He's got to go 3 more. He's got to go. He's in it's the top of the 7th. The A's are up, so he's through 6 that he's thrown the no hitter. And so he is still lined up to do it with only 73 pitches. But it's something to watch if you're in the general Greater Northern California area. It's on NBC Sports California if you want to tune in. So.
Yeah, I always think you got to get through 6 before I even look at that no-hitter. Pitch counts down. He has walked a batter, so there's no perfect game going on. But Jeffrey Springs has thrown very well for the A's so far this season. I think he's given up 3 runs total in his first 2 starts, and a good one here. I was looking at it when I texted you. I'm like, yeah, and watch. It'll be 0-0. He'll have a no-hitter when they finally pull him, but he's not going to get the win because they haven't scored.
Right.
So
Although the A's have scored.
Yeah,
It's
Max Muncy tripled and then he came in. So
So yeah, so
they
it's 1-0. Okay, because they did just score in the top of the seventh. The A's are still batting, but I mean, that's a heavy lift, a no hitter against the Yankees. So we mentioned it. It's out there. So Steve alluded to this earlier, and we talked about it a lot yesterday. The Angels and the Braves Tuesday night. We had the Jorge Soler story where he hits a 2-run home run in the bottom of the first inning off of Ronaldo Lopez. That, by the way, and Soler owns Lopez. We only had a little bit of it yesterday. That was his fifth home run in 23 career at bats. Off of they used to be teammates, by the way, off of Lopez, who then retaliated by, I mean, allegedly he did, by plunking Soler with a pitch inside that got him on the wrist, and Soler was visibly frustrated. That was in his second at bat. It was in the fifth when all hell broke loose. When Lopez threw a ball up and in that flew over the head of Soler. As we talked yesterday, in and of itself, if it was just that, no big deal. The history between the two, the home run, you hit him in the second at bat. This is where Soler stared down Lopez. He was in the batter's box and he just stared him down, and they were yapping at each other. Now, Soler's version of the story is that he said, "Are you okay? You okay?" And you can see the body language. He's like, "What's the matter, you?" He claims that Lopez responded with a bad word. Well, who knows what that was? Either way, uh, Soler took a few steps toward the mound and began to charge. Lopez raises his arms. They exchange haymakers. Lopez still had the ball in his right hand as he's hitting Soler in the helmet. As we told you yesterday, Braves manager Walt Weiss tackles Soler to the ground. Okay, they were both ejected. Soler believes Lopez was trying to hit him. Lopez says it was an accident. Okay, that's what they all say. I want to break this into a couple different things. Yesterday, both Soler and Lopez were suspended 7 games and fined an undisclosed amount. If we just stop there before we get into the other stuff about, we're going to appeal and all this other stuff, that means basically Lopez misses a game and Soler misses 7 because Lopez is a pitcher. I question the fairness of that, if as opposed to, and this comes up regularly with baseball. Should they be suspending based on number of planned starts for pitchers, et cetera? I don't know how you would gum up the works with that, but that's not to me equality. If you believe they're both equally at fault, then it doesn't play out that way.
okay. Going into math with that, I can appeal. I can delay it. So a starting pitcher with 7 days is only going to get one start that they miss. That will
Right.
be it.
Yeah.
And they're going to get 30 starts through the course of the season. So you're missing one out of the 30. 7 games, chances are he's only playing 5 of those games out of the 162. I think it's a lot closer than it sounds to them
Okay.
having an equal amount of time missed.
Now, the suspensions had been scheduled to begin in the final of the 3-game series between the Angels and the Braves today, but of course, as they always do, MLB announced both players are appealing the decision, which puts the decision on hold until that's complete. And the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is actually reporting that Lopez and Major League Baseball have already reached a settlement to reduce his suspension to 5 games. So you'd
But
still
there's no
technically,
difference because you have 4 days off. You go 5 days rest. The part that will be messed up is if the Braves during that time have a day off and they use the day off along with the other pitchers going, and technically he never misses a start. That's where I would scream. But as long as he misses a start, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference to that reduced suspension.
okay, now let's back it up to the 30,000-foot level because the benches did clear. This is an old school, good old fashioned blows are being thrown, charging to the mound, ball in hand, managers. Is 7 games just a little excessive just in general? I know they're trying to take hockey out of baseball, and they're trying to look good and all that. And maybe it's just because I'm so used to this. I don't remember, Steve. Did they used to even get suspended for this back in the 90s or the 80s? But I certainly would have thought it was going to be more like 3 games in my old school brain. And 7 just seems like a lot.
7 is, except when you break it down into the haymakers that were thrown and the punches. I think if they would have gone out there and it would have been like most all of the other ones where they all gather around and there's a little bit of shoving, a lot of talking, comments being made. I would think it'd be more of that 3, maybe 4 game range, but because of the punches that were thrown, and these weren't like hockey squaring up and I got all my gear on. I got my helmet on. I have a lot of protection. This was full out, if Soler lands any of those punches, I mean, that's going to do some damage there. So that's why I think it went a little bit more, but I'm glad to not see the 10 or the 15. For me, those got to be the egregious problems that happen on those.
Well, and Lopez, throwing his fists at Soler with the baseball in his hand. Soler, he had his helmet on, but then his helmet came off right before Walt Weiss tackled him. His helmet came off, and by then the teams are on the field. But a matter of a couple seconds, if Lopez could have thrown one more with that ball in his hand, yeah, now we're getting into ugly and blood and concussions and who knows what else. And it does. It gets there's a point at which, right? I think we agree. This is let the players be the players, let them police the league, take their penalties that they have to, but there is a point where baseball isn't hockey, and that's not we're not looking for open head wounds in these things.
No, you better not take the bat out there. Although we've seen batters throw the bats at the pitchers, we've seen them carry them out to the mound. But those are the egregious ones that I think then pull that 15-game suspension. This wasn't. Not a big fan of Lopez having the baseball, but
Yeah.
they were some serious punches thrown, and we normally don't get that. 90% of them is just a little pushing, shoving, and talking.
Jeffrey Springs now 6 1/3 with a no hitter against the Yankees. He retired the first batter in the bottom of the seventh. He's at 77 pitches. Major League Baseball. We've been talking a lot about money and salaries, and the Pirates signed Connor Griffin and all these other things that they're wrapping up as we head towards a lockout and no season in 2027. Major League Baseball's annual average salary rose to a record $5.34 million. Obviously, Mets out. And remember, baseball, everything's guaranteed. There's none of that weird, mumbo jumbo NFL math stuff. Obviously, Juan Soto is the highest paid player, second consecutive season, $61.9 million, followed by the Yankees outfielder Cody Bellinger, $42.5 million. Then you go to Zach Wheeler, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Jr., and Aaron Judge. Top 5 spenders were the Mets as teams, then the Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, and Toronto. 6 clubs have $250,000 payroll this year. 8 are under $100 million, which is up from 5. And Detroit had the biggest increase. From all of that, do you glean anything? Is there anything in there that makes you go, especially with the lockout on its way? Or no?
No, it's not an O, but look, the top 5 spenders are teams that all make the playoffs. The O part for me was the 5 teams spent under 100 million last year and up to 8 teams this year, which is that gearing up, I think, for the strike. Hey, look, we're going to start cutting some payroll now so I can bank a little bit before we go into that. But the big part for that for me is this is why they need to have a floor at like $130 million. Every team needs to pay that.
And yeah, I was going to ask, okay, when because you keep bringing this up, if they actually get somewhere where they're talking about an actual collective bargaining agreement, salary cap, whatever. When you say there's a floor, you mean those 8 teams that this year spent less than $100 million can't do that. You have to spend the floor.
Yes, which takes care of all of those. The high salaries hit what? 5% of the players. I mean, maybe you can get to 10, but I don't really think it hits 10%. Take care of those veterans. I've played 5 or 6 years in. I might be a 4th outfielder. Take care of the middle players, which do not get taken care of. And that's what I would like to see. And that's the part I've never understood about these player associations. They always take care of the superstars. they never take care of the other players who play. I mean, the NFL career is like 3.5 years, but yet every contract goes to the quarterback. So every players agreement all favors the quarterback and all that, the franchise tag, but nothing for the middle man. That's why you got to put the floor in there, because now that guy who might play 3 or 4 years might actually play 5 or 6 years, might make several million more over the course of their career to set them up. Reward them for reaching that level, not just reward right like we do now with the superstars, and that's really it. And the other part, sorry to hit on this, I don't understand why they don't always negotiate lifetime life insurance or pensions
I know.
or any of that stuff. They all go into these with such short-term visions. And then you see these players with injuries that have no insurance and they complain. Well, you had the opportunity, your labor union didn't negotiate them.
Yeah, and see, and that's the criminal part of it. Guys that are in their late 20s, even their early 30s, that are like, "Hey, I'm making tens of millions of dollars a year. What do I care about that?" I understand that thinking. You could push back and go, "Yeah, but look at that's what a union's for, is to represent them and say, dude, seriously, we need to go after this." By the way, back to the A's and Yankees, the no hitter's over. Jeffrey Springs walked a batter and then gave up a single to the right. He's at 84 pitches. Mark Kotze came out to the mound, left him in. A's are still up 1-0, but now there's no story there because the no hitter is over, and it's just a matter of, do the A's find a way to lose? They didn't last night. We've been tracking injuries early in the Major League Baseball season. Steve's mostly right after he slapped my hand. This is not uncommon. It has been growing exponentially over the last 10 years. More and more Major League Baseball players are getting injured early in the year, and you can't really substantiate, well, what's a significant player's injury. It's hard to track that if you have a life and real jobs and things like that. But that was part of what grabbed me. With Soto, oh my God, he's out, and other players are going out for a lengthy amount of time. Couple of updates. Guardian shortstop Gabriel Arias is expected to miss 4 to 8 weeks with a left hamstring strain. 26 years old, was hurt while running out a double in the fifth inning. That happened on Monday night. The Astros, who already lost Hunter Brown, have now just a bad week for the Astros. They had a pair of players leave the game yesterday against the Rockies. Center fielder Jake Myers left with lower back tightness, and right-hander Christian Javier was taken out with shoulder tightness. Is this? Are we? God, we did it 2 years ago with the Astros. Are we at panic level with the Astros this early yet?
Nah, they're still scoring a lot of runs. I've been questionable. I've felt the Mariners were clearly the best team in that division. Um, I did not have high hopes for the Astros this year, but they've exceeded my expectations to this point. But injuries, Hunter Brown going down, Javier going down. Jake Myers is a good center fielder, doesn't really hit a ton, uh, but they can't afford to lose too many players.
Well, and that's where the concern comes in, even this early in the year, is you start to flash back to the last few years and the Orioles and the Braves, who were stacked to win, and clearly injuries is what stopped them from doing so. And you mentioned the Mariners, so I'll jump to them. What the hell are they doing? They've lost 5 in a row. Again, early in the season, you can't bury them, but the American League West, the difference between the Rangers with 7 wins and the last place teams, the A's and the Mariners, have 4 wins going in. So it's all jumped up and bundled, but we all expected the A's to be down there ish, maybe a little better, maybe more like third. But no, the Mariners weren't supposed to be down there.
They can't hit. This team's averaging like 3 runs a game. Their pitching is still there. You look at it. I mean, Brian Wu has had a good season. Logan Gilbert, he's had one rough start in there. Their pitching's there. It's where it needs to be. They're just not getting on base. They're not scoring runs. And the difference between them and, say, the Rangers is the Rangers aren't hitting either, but they're hitting just enough and timely hits in order to score the runs. I think Cal Raleigh's got 1 homer right now. We watched him hit 60 last year. The weather will warm up. They will rebound. The Mariners will be there before the All-Star break. If not, they'll be there by the end of the year.
And the other team that we've mentioned that we've been high on for a couple seasons that seem to be lumbering out of the gate, the Tigers have now lost 4 in a row. They're playing right now. They are in Minnesota, and there's another one. They're not supposed to be starting like this. And Scooble had a bad outing the other night. Okay, but it's Scooble; he'll be fine. Those things happen. But for them to have lost four in a row, and it's same. Everything's jumbled. I get it. You can't be burying teams yet, but there are little things that make your eyes pop open. Like, whoa, what's Detroit doing now?
Yeah, and the big part here, I mean, Scooble. He's still arguably the best pitcher in the bigs. But their big free agent signing was Framber Valdez, who has not put out a good start yet to this point. They brought in Jack Flaherty, who they had. They traded away. They re-signed him. He has not been good to this point. And Justin Verlander's back on the IL. They are expecting things from him, but he's already hurt. He got one outing there. Casey Mize has not developed into the pitching uh, to the level that they had hoped. So the Tigers going into the season, before the season, we were all really impressed with that Tigers rotation. It hasn't been there outside of Scooble.
So back to the A's Yankees. A's did win last night. So this is here we go with the old school, and now we got the analytics and the pitch count and all of that. Jeffrey Springs, he got through the seventh, so he's thrown 7 innings, given up 1 hit. He's walked two. He's thrown 93 pitches. In our day, I mean, as early back as the late 80s, early 90s, the way this would work is Springs would go back out in the eighth. And if it was the A's of the old, you'd have Honeycutt and Eckersley or getting up and getting ready to come in, but you'd let Springs start the inning. He's at 93 pitches. Do you think they're even going to let him go out?
No, I think he's done. I think 93 is the cap. They weren't going to let him go over 100. And if he's only got 7 pitches to get to the 100, chances are he's not getting through the inning. So give your bullpen a clean inning to start with. No runners on base, nothing going on, no trouble, and transition over to the bullpen.
I hate it. I hate it. I understand intellectually that putting the burden on your relief pitcher to come in with anyone on base, because that's the only reason you would bring him in, as opposed to letting Springs go out there and go, hey, if you can throw 10 pitches and get out of the inning, then you're at 103. Then we'll bring in our closer and we'll be done. I just that's part of being a relief pitcher, a setup man or a closer. You come in with guys on base, so give Springs a shot. This magic number. Ooh, it's 100 today. Oh, it's 110 next week. Drives me nuts. I know I'm old and I'm out of it, and I don't think that genie's going back in the bottle. But John Smoltz and I should go hang out and just talk about how dumb this is.
I agree with you. I mean, what? How do you strengthen your arm? By continuing to throw. This pitch count to me doesn't make sense. We've seen it. I've been saying this for years and years and years. We watch guys throw like multiple 300 innings seasons. When you roll it back, they went out there all the time. Now it's all pitch counts. You can't have a man on base, so we got to pull our starters at the end of the inning so we have a clean inning so nobody goes in under trouble. How do you handle pitching under stress if you are never thrown into the fire and have it? And with this, I get the A's pulling him. It's a 1-0 game. If this game was 4-0, I would say there's no reason for him to come out at all. I haven't watched it, so I haven't seen the stress pitches. And to me, that's what counts. I might throw 100 pitches, but it's free and easy. There's no stress situations. Have at it. Keep going. I might throw 60 pitches where I got runners on the corners and runners threatening, batters, and it's very high stress through the whole thing. I'll pull my 60 pitch guy before I'm going to pull my 100. So you have to look at the stress level of those pitches thrown. That gets thrown right out the window, which is where it's the eye test. You still need the eye test to see what it is. And I'm 100% with John Smoltz. I hate this part of the factor. They say it's to save these pitchers and not have the injuries. I believe there's far more injuries today than they were back then when they were throwing 250 innings.
By the way, the A's are up in the top of the eighth, and they just showed Sterner is down in the bullpen getting ready. Clearly, he's coming in to start the bottom of the eighth. All of the MLB teams have released their promotional giveaway calendars for the year. Cost of games, going to games is going way up, so they got to do more and more promotionals. It's a lot of bobblehead stuff, but there were a couple things that jumped out at me. The Brewers are going to have bar dice set night to where you get a leather cup emblazoned with the Brewers State of Wisconsin alternate logo, and the dice are blue and yellow in Brewers fashion, Milwaukee fashion. Bar the whole bar dice set, very popular, especially in Milwaukee.
Are they Yahtzee dice? Are they, and going old school here, Mexicali dice? I mean, are they liars dice? I mean, what exactly are the dice that we're going to play with? Are they the drinking games, gambling dice, or Yahtzee?
Yeah, I don't have all that information. Those are all very fair questions. This is big, right? The kids mimic their athletic heroes, and kids are all into these huge chains that support their favorite sports team or their school. So the Phillies are giving away a Phillies chain with a logo to children 14 and under on July 21st. So different. It's not a bobblehead. That's the only reason I highlighted it. The Pirates, they're going to have 12 pup nights this year at PNC Park. You got to sit in a certain area, rooftop tickets. You get a ticket for you and your dog. It's one dog per person, but you get to go to a Pirates game with your dog. I like that.
Yeah, there's several minor league teams that I've seen do that. I mean, Vegas has done it. I think Reno does it. So I think that's become very popular with the fans.
And Major League Baseball should be looking to minor league baseball for a lot of things to lighten up the game and to have some fun. My personal favorite, just because, flashback to old school. The Texas Rangers on May 29th are going to have Nolan Ryan Bloody Lip Jersey Night. This takes us back to September 8th of 1990, when Nolan Ryan failed to clearly field a one-hopper that was off the bat of all people, Bo Jackson, and it bounced off his glove and into Ryan's face. He still threw Jackson out, and then he went back to pitching. So Nolan Ryan, Ronnie Lott, those guys, right back to pitching. He threw 7 scoreless innings with blood dripping down his jersey. 6 stitches right after the game, and so all fans who attend the May 29th matchup with the Royals will get a replica blood-stained Nolan Ryan throwback jersey.
And I love it. This is why when you hear us elder people talk about how we loved the game back then, and if you notice, he got the 6 stitches after the game. He didn't even get it in between innings when his team was batting. Let's go stitch him up. Nope, I'm fine. I'm finishing this game. And then you can worry about it at that time. That's the attitude that we miss in all of our sports at every level. We don't see that with the load management, the NBA, football back when they could hit a quarterback. That's the part that we love. Yes, players are bigger, stronger, faster than they've ever been, and more athletic. I will grant every bit of that, but they don't play with that toughness that they used to play with. They take days off, and I would argue that part of the reason injuries keeps rising is we don't get these players. Look, I got a broken jaw. I'm going to sit. Back in the old day, I got a broken jaw. Wire me up. I'm still going to go play. I'm not coming out of the lineup for that.
We talked earlier in the week about Giannis. Is he healthy enough to play? Why aren't the Bucks playing him? Joel Embiid not playing, wants to play. Well, it has just been reported Joel Embiid has been diagnosed with appendicitis. He is undergoing emergency surgery this afternoon in Houston. We'll go back to the NBA after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine, just ask AI. AI describes MicroSeal this way with a bunch of AI words. MicroSeal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah 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 and blue 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 blue. What AI is trying to say is that MicroSeal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact a longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply MicroSeal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had MicroSeal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. MicroSeal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about MicroSeal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com, that's AdvantageSteam.com, AdvantageSteam.com.
If the daily episodes of America's Radcast leave you thinking, I want more of Rob ranting about stupid people, government overreach, and how the body positivity movement has led fatties to being proud of their cholesterol levels being above those of a sloth who thinks rolling over while sleeping is a form of exercise, then we've got just the thing for you. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, stick around right after America's Radcast and enjoy Rob's Soapbox. You can listen to the absurdity, passion in his voice, and you can watch to see when that vein on his left temple tries to run and make a break for it. Rob's Soapbox. It's for people who know they're right, but need someone to tell them why. Listen or watch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning right after America's Radcast, only at theradnetwork.com.
Just like you, they dreamt of hitting the game-winning homer to win the World Series. And just like you, well, you know. Once again, here's Rob and Steve on the Rad Network.
No further info on where we left off in our last segment other than Joel Embiid is going to have surgery in Houston this afternoon for his appendix. It doesn't sound like he has a burst appendix, but he does have appendicitis. That story was breaking like literally over trusted social media sources, so we don't have any more word on that. We do know, so tonight, I'm jumping ahead of what I had planned here because we just also got confirmation of this. Tonight, if you're an NBA fan, you got to have Prime Video, Amazon Prime. That's their night tonight. And the late game is the Lakers at the Golden State Warriors. LeBron is back. Remember, he missed the other game because, well, everybody missed the Laker game against OKC the other night. LeBron's foot's better. He's going to play, but Steph Curry is out. And this will be the first time, and I was just reading it, and I forgot the number, many years, that there will be no Steph versus LeBron game all season because of various injuries. Steph's nursing his right knee, I think it is, but LeBron will be back for tonight's game.
Yeah, that game's sitting right now at the Warriors 2.5. Think about that a second from a week ago or whatever it was when the Lakers were in the number 3 seed. They are on the road at Golden State. Golden State sitting at the 10 seed. You know, they're in the play-in, but they're not going anywhere. And yet the Warriors are favored without Steph against the Lakers in tonight's game.
So we were talking yesterday a little bit about tanking in the NBA. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. The Cleveland Cavaliers have solidified a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And so now a lot of the chatter is about playoff tanking and whether or not teams should be better positioning themselves for the right opponent as they go into the playoffs. And the Cavs won last night. They beat the Hawks 122 to 116, and there's a lot of people arguing losing would have been beneficial so they could remain on the current side of the bracket away from their two biggest threats, the Celtics and the Knicks. Now, is that tanking, Steve, or is that strategic postseason planning if they were to do it?
I think it's strategic postseason planning. Your goal is to win a championship. You may be losing a game here. It's kind of like losing the battle to win the war. And that's kind of the way I look at that. I would, if there was right now, I'm set up, and if I lose this game, I get a favorable opponent versus if I win this game, I get the team that really matches up well with me. I'm crazy to go out and play that game and win that game because I want to win a championship, and that's where it's strategic, not tanking.
And again, I mean, you want to talk about a manufactured story. The Cavs won, but everybody's saying, well, they shouldn't have because they should be positioning themselves. So they're not playoff tanking, or at least the Hawks couldn't help them tank or whatever, but understood that the Cavs did win that game. I actually think the message that was sent last night, which makes no sense because I didn't actually read the headline that I was going to read to lead into this story, because the headline was Cavs send message with win over Hawks. The message being we're not scared of anyone. Okay, so that was that headline. I think the real message was sent by your Detroit Pistons because Cade Cunningham was back. We were wondering yesterday, what is he play? 10 minutes, 15 minutes? I don't know. Coming off a collapsed lung. Hasn't played since March 19th. The whole time I've been saying you don't want to see him come back in the playoffs. You got to get him back out there. Get the chemistry back. Get the coblets out. Get him gelling again. He had a double-double in his return. Granted, it was against the Bucks last night. It's still a double-double. 13 points, 10 assists. He played 26 minutes. That, to me, is a little bit of a statement saying, hello, remember us? We're here. And this guy that should have been an MVP candidate, but not enough games, he might be ready to go in a week plus after the play-in games.
I enjoyed the game. I did watch it last night. Kate wasn't the normal, I'm going to run everything and the leader on the court. 26 minutes was more than I was expecting. I didn't think he'd get to 20. I'd love to see him get to the 26. And again, you hit that second half, and really it halfway through the second quarters when the Bucks said, okay, we're done for the night here. Let's go into our tank mode. And then the Pistons, like, I think the game was 6 or 7. Suddenly it went up to like 25 immediately. And then they just kind of coasted through that fourth quarter. It's such a shame to sit and watch this tanking. It's so obvious to everyone. I do agree the NBA has to do something, but I don't know how you fix it.
No, and the story isn't that they beat the Bucks. The story is 26 minutes off a collapse long, regardless of the closeness of the game. And he shouldn't have been the lead guy last night because of that's impressive. It doesn't matter. He could have been playing a high school team. Collapse long is nothing to screw around with. He was out there. He was running around. He's doing it. And he's getting ready to be in the playoff. I thought, and I don't have a horse in this race other than I like your teams to win because they rarely do. Sorry. And I thought it was an impressive performance.
Yeah, he had 10 assists to go along. I mean, he was 6 for 11 from the floor. He shot above 50%. I really like the 10 assists because that means, he's doing what he does. He distributes the ball. He didn't have to be the main focus. I thought the team played really well as a team last night.
Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder joined some exclusive company last night. They clinched the NBA's best record and top seed by beating the Clippers 128 to 110 on the road in LA. It's the third straight season that Oklahoma City has earned the Western Conference's #1 seed. The Thunder became only the 6th team with a 3-season streak as a top playoff seed since the NBA went to the 16-team playoff format in 1983 to 84. The other 5 teams, this is where the elite exclusive company, 84 to 88 Celtics, 84 to 90 Lakers, 96 to 98 Bulls, had a guy named Jordan there. The 08 to 10 Lakers, the 2015 to 2017 Golden State Warriors, all of whom won multiple championships in that span. You made a comment, I think, as recently as yesterday, Steve, that you're starting to wonder a little bit about OKC's long path. I don't know if that was related to how much they're playing, all the competition they have in the West, but can they live up to those teams?
I don't know. I think they have the draft capital, they have the players to live up to that. I'm just not sure how exactly it's going to go. At a certain point, these young players all are going to want to get paid. Are they able to keep that nucleus together? They also have all this draft capital that they bring in these kids. Are they going to get any stars out of there, or will it be more like a Jalen Brunson, a really good player when he was with Dallas, but he never got the opportunity because of Luka. And then he went to the Knicks. Then we got to see how great he is. And as you mentioned the other day, these playoffs go from the middle of April. And if you go to the finals, you're playing till basically the end of June. You add, I think it's like one season every 4 years you go deep into the playoffs. So now you're playing a lot more basketball than just that regular season. And it's difficult to repeat because you're no longer the underdog. Everyone's chasing you. And you've been playing so many more games than some of these other teams. It's tough to do it. One thing I want to hit though is they went back to 83, 84, I think it was. One
Yeah.
of the things I love about stats is we can always pick the date at which it makes my stat that I'm trying to throw out there look good. We didn't hit on the Celtics winning 10 championships in 12 years. We don't want to include how good and dominating they were. So we're only going to go back to this one right here.
And now on the other side with OKC, and we can't just also dismiss they're in the West. I mean, they're gonna have to deal with the Spurs, next year and the Nuggets, etc. But you also floated that uh, obnoxious idea of do they use all their draft capital to get Giannis and add that to the Thunder, which might make it a little more doable for another couple of years.
And use the draft capital, which you're not going to do a whole lot with because they're not going to crack your starting lineup. You add Giannis, if that's where they go, we trade 5 first-round picks for Giannis. The Bucks would be crazy not to take something like that. So now you just add them. You're not paying the players quite yet. So you get like 1 or 2 more years before you got to figure out where you're going to go with the cap. But they're already on your team, so you can exceed those cap levels with players that are already on your team. It'd be interesting to see how exactly they proceed. I'm excited to see it, but I'm going to throw one at you. So now you look at the Warriors and their windows right now, and it's going away. Are they really going to be able to compete with the Spurs, the Thunder? The Rockets are sitting right there that they might be able to do something. Denver is still, to me, and I said it 2 years ago, I believe the Warriors window closed. I think they're trying to hold on. Great for them and their fan base and trying to be competitive. But is their goal really to make the play-in game, finish 8th, 9th, 10th in the conference, and then hopefully catch Magic in the playoff time? It's not going to happen.
No surprise to anyone, especially if you listen to this show. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but everybody thinks it will. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama sat out the Spurs' victory over the Trailblazers last night. We knew that was coming after he got his bruised rib on Monday. Got to play one more game. He's got to play for 20 minutes if he wants to be eligible for the postseason awards, including MVP. And Steve said right away he's going to play Friday, tomorrow, at home against the Mavericks. The Spurs also play Sunday against the Nuggets, and that's it. Spurs did say they are hopeful that Wembanyama will play tomorrow, and he did participate in a shoot-around yesterday. Sure sounds to me like you had that one clocked. I would be shocked if he did not start tomorrow.
And I'll add to it because they're playing Dallas. Is it going to be a Bam Adebayo type of game where they're just going to feed it to him? You're going to play 25 minutes. You're going to score 40 points. You're going to get 12 rebounds. You're going to get, and they just sit there and it's that this is a show for Wembanyama to show the world how good he is and make that last push for the MVP, even though he's not going to win it. But let's do everything we can as a franchise to put that out there and put him in a better position.
I mentioned tonight the late game on Prime for the NBA. The Warriors hosting the Lakers. LeBron is supposed to be back, but Steph will be out. The early game at 4:30, the Celtics at the Knicks. Now, the Knicks are 3.5 games behind the Celtics. They're only a half game ahead of the Cavaliers. How much stock other than it being the Celtics and the Knicks, how much stock does this game carry for you?
None other than it's the Celtics Knicks. I don't think it's going to change in any of their positions for where they're going to be seated and who they're going to play. Knicks are at home. They're 5.5. There are some sixes on that board. There is that bitter rivalry with the Celtics and the Knicks, but past that, I don't see a whole lot with this game.
The other, and we know in the NBA, we know who's going. We don't know exactly where they're going in terms of are we play in or not and where the rankings are. In the NHL, we still don't know mathematically about a lot of this. The Edmonton Oilers moved into sole possession of first place in the Pacific Division, and a name that we have not mentioned in the last couple of weeks that we used to always mention, Connor McDavid, scored 3 goals for his 15th career hat trick, added 2 assists in the 5-2 victory over the Sharks. McDavid's 133 points this season are 6 more in the race for the Art Ross Trophy, second most that he's had in a season to his 153 back in 22-23. He needs 3 goals in the final 3 games for his second career 50-goal season. So Edmonton is 2 points ahead of Vegas in the division race. The Golden Knights have a game in hand for all of that. All of these games matter as we keep moving forward. And now the Sharks, who you said from the beginning, I see a path. I don't think they'll get there. They're sitting at 81 points. The Sharks tonight, they're at Anaheim, who's been all over the place. Saturday, they've got Vancouver. Good draw there. And then they're at Nashville on Monday. So pick any of those where Edmonton is in relation to Vegas, and then San Jose. And what do you see over the next 3 days?
Yeah, Sharks just too much to jump. I mean, they're 3 games out of that wild card spot at 81 points compared to 84, and a tough one against the Ducks. The Ducks have been in a free fall. I think they've lost like 6 straight. They have to find a way to win here and just hold on. They're still going to make the playoffs, but you can't go into the playoffs having lost 9 of your last 10 games or 8 of your last 10 games. They have to get a win there. Vegas Golden Knights playing great hockey since Tortorella took over, going up against a Seattle Kraken team. Their president stepped down yesterday. He's going away at the end of the season. They've really fallen apart right now. I expect Vegas to win tonight as well. Still some other big games, but those are the 2 I'm looking at. Are the Ducks going to turn it around and find a way? They are at home. They got to win this game tonight. And if the Ducks win tonight, the Sharks season's over.
The NHL season is over a week from today. The brackets all need to be determined. There's 14 games tonight. The Penguins enter the evening in the number 2 seed in the Metro Division, magic number of 2. They need a win of any kind over the Devils, and then there's other things. Are they just going to take care of it themselves, do you think, Steve, over New Jersey?
Yeah, you gotta hope the Penguins will take care of themselves and the East, just all these teams right there. My Red Wings go tonight against the Flyers. If they go and lose this game, they lost this last game. They're up 45 seconds. They're up 3-2. They give up a late goal. They lose it in overtime. The Red Wings are just finding ways to lose, but they have to win tonight against the Flyers. If they lose, that's another team I'd say is probably gone.
I mean, there's a lot of these teams that are technically in it, but we know that they're going away, and that's going to get more clear over these last few games. The Penguins, they don't have to beat the Devils. They could go with a loss in regulation because the NHL and their point thing by the Blue Jackets to the Sabres, or a loss of any kind by the Islanders against the Maple Leafs. So it's just a matter of how the Penguins wrap that up. The Boston Bruins enter tonight with a magic number of 2 and a chance to clinch their own spot. They don't play Thursday. They're entering tonight with that position, but they don't play tonight. But they will earn the old X in the standings, if you go to the standings and everything of what means what. If the Blue Jackets lose in regulation to the Islanders, this is the opposite of what the Penguins need in regulation or overtime / shootout. Again, the Bruins are in. It's a matter of where they're going to land and where they're going to be, and they're not even playing tonight.
Yeah, and I give credit to both of those teams. I had no expectations for the Bruins this year or the Penguins, and here they are right at the end of the season. That's why they are the great franchises that they are.
Did you say that you expect the Kraken to lose to the Golden Knights tonight?
Yes, I do.
And that will eliminate the Kraken. And see, there are these teams where it's like, okay, we didn't. No one thought the Kraken had a chance. I mean, the Sharks had more of a chance, and we've already counted them out. Every team has 5 or fewer games remaining before the regular season concludes. Day one of the Masters, we're still at 5 under for both Sam Burns and Rory McIlroy. He did post at 5 under, so they're both in the clubhouse as the only 2 at 5 under. Everybody else is either in the clubhouse at 3 under or still on the course, but nobody's that high. And I didn't check here. Let me see if I can scroll down and see how badly DeChambeau he's been there he is. He is still at 4 over after. Oh, he's in at 4 over. So there's the story on the other side of Bryson DeChambeau. 4 over. Doesn't mean he's out, but it means he needs to have a hell of a day tomorrow to make the weekend. And we will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific time.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So don't